Well, uh, well, how the Jedi do it is to make sure that families, to encourage family, which is very much in the state's interest to encourage family. The Jedi do know that the only one who can give up on a marriage, in terms of the one holding the marriage together, is the woman, right? She's either holding it together or she can actively break it. That's why I sometimes accuse a woman of being a homebreaker. She might try and break her marriage. A lot of women try and break other women's marriages. Well, to encourage, and the Jedi's always encourage the state to make divorce for the woman as hard as possible. Less so for the man. Less so for the man. And this actually is the most likely thing to make marriage work. It's very much in the state's interest it does. Because the state is going to get any amount of problems from broken homes. Any amount of problems. And expense from broken homes. It's very much in the state's interest to cooperate with the law and make divorce as hard as possible. Always possible for a woman to divorce. And that is just in case something goes badly wrong. And she's in some very bad situation. Or that then it's possible for her to divorce. But difficult. Another thing they very much encourage, that a woman never marries for anything other than to have a husband and a marriage. She's not marrying for profit or another reason, to divorce a year later and make money. Like those women do on Atlanta Housewives and those programs, They'd marry a man, a year later they divorce him to make a profit. Housewives of Atlanta and things like that, quite interesting programs. What they do, marry a man and a year later divorce him, make a profit. And that's why they marry him in the first place. Well, I wouldn't encourage that. It's not in the state's interest to encourage that. Any amount of social problems, any amount of financial problems for the state come from broken homes. It's very much in the state's interest to cooperate with the law, make marriage difficult, divorce difficult to the woman, quite difficult for the man. And they say, but hang on, will the man divorce? No, he won't. In principle, he won't. He will not divorce easily. In principle. Even a man who's inclined to be unfaithful will almost never run off with another woman permanently. Almost never. So it's not in the man's nature to divorce. He will hold out to the very last knockings. It is the woman who will quite easily divorce. It always comes from her. Alright? A Jedi will tell you that. Make it possible. Never make it impossible, because she could be trapped in a terrible situation. But make it difficult for her to divorce. Give her no other interest to marry other than she is getting a husband and a marriage. You do that, you sort out any amount of society's problems and any amount of the government's expenses. Also, white Jedi's main document is the Bible. In the Bible, you marry because you love someone. You marry because you want to have a domestic home with them and a family, and be a family. That's very much the reasons why you marry. And that would be the Jedi's second reason for encouraging marriage, for people to marry because they want to get married, and marry in a way that it works. In the long term, most of what goes wrong with a marriage can be fixed. And the woman will thank you that 20 years later she's celebrating her, silver jubilee. Or it's 20 years, there's no, I can't remember what was silver jubilee and golden jubilee. She will thank you any amount that you helped her hold it together. And she will thank you any amount. I mean, it says in my books that when a woman lives alone, she may feel slightly unfulfilled, and I just say slightly unfulfilled. However, it's so much easier for her to live alone. As I said, the man is as demanding as a baby. When she lives with a man, it's as demanding as a baby. And when she lives alone, it's peaceful. There are no arguments. Nobody to argue with. You know? One of the things that also sometimes makes women divorce is she always enjoys it when the man's out. She likes the house to herself. And sometimes she simply thinks, I'll have the house permanently to myself. Oh, it's all very jaded. It's all very jaded. Where's love in this? Where's love in this? And also, I know what I was thinking with my auntie Sandra. She actually very much regretted divorcing. She regretted losing her family and her home at a time when her family and home were a lovely place. And even though she's doing very, very well now, she's got any amount of money and any amount of success, even I sense that, and she talks about it a lot, how much she regretted losing her family home. Blames it on my mum. My mum was about at the time, and because my mum was about, it was easier for Sandra to divorce. Now, my mum didn't know that, all right? My mum hadn't worked that out, that because she was about, it was going to be easier for Sandra to divorce. And to this day, she blames her. She blames my mum. And my mum says, but Sandra, you wanted a divorce. You wanted a divorce. You know, I helped you, but you wanted a divorce at the time. But even to this day, she regrets losing her family home. It was lovely at the time. She had a lovely family home at the time. Hello, Kenny. It's the Kenny. Smile for YouTube. Drop your trousers.
Those disappeared off too.
Oh. Don't know. Oh,